People love to say that all worship music sounds the same, and I'm beginning to believe that they're right because I've noticed something. Every worship song features this exact same 4-chord progression, the 1, 4, 6, 5. This is Amazing Grace. This is Unending Love. You would take a place, you would earn a cross. King of Kings. Praise the Father, praise the Son, praise the Spirit, 3 and 1. Raise a hallelujah. Hallelujah, in the presence of my enemies. Praise the hallelujah. Why are these 4 chords in every worship song? Is it a good thing? Is it a bad thing? Is it just something that happened by accident? Let's talk about it. Okay, obviously not every worship song has this exact same 4-chord progression, and the 3 songs I just mentioned have other chord progressions in them too. Now honestly, in prepping for this video, it was so easy to come up with a ton of songs that feature the 1, 4, 6, 5, but leave a comment right now and let us know what are your 1, 4, 6, 5 worship songs, and we might try and come up with this mega list of every song that features this chord progression. Oh, and while you're down there commenting, would you hit the subscribe button if you're not already? We put out a new worship keys, worship piano, and sound design tutorial every week to help you level up the keys position at your church. Okay, so is it bad that so many worship songs use the exact same chord progression? Well, to start off with, I mean, this isn't a new phenomenon. Like, different songs have been sharing chord progressions since the dawn of time. And this happens in pop music, it happens in R&B music, it happens in classical music, although not as often because there's typically a lot more moving around. But when it comes to modern music, which is designed to be, written, composed, recorded, played back live and over the air or now online, and meant to be learned and sung and engaged with by lots of people, like a crowd of people, or in our case, a congregation of people, it only stands to reason that things being somewhat familiar actually has its advantages. So is it bad if a song that you love features the same 4-chord progression? No, you love the song. Like, don't overthink things. If you or your congregation resonate with a song or songs that feature, stereotypical 1, 4, 6, 5 progression, it's all about what you do with that progression and how it impacts your congregation that actually matters at the end of the day. So if you've got songs in your repertoire or you're thinking about adding a new song, and as you're listening to it, you said, oh no, 1, 4, 6, 5, I can't do it. No, you can actually do this in a way that's musical, that's creative, and I would guarantee that the people that compose these 1, 4, 6, 5 songs also put their genuine effort, creativity, and inspiration into crafting these arrangements. So how can you make the most of a song that has this 4-chord wonder progression? I think there's a few things to consider, and it might not be what initially jumps out at you. Let's start off by just talking about the basics, right? So I've got my piano, chords, right? 6, 5, so 1, C, 4, F, A minor is the 6, and then G is the 5. So that's our 1, 4, 6, 5 progression. I'm just using the SK Grand from the Sunday Keys app. It's giving me this basic piano sound. So when it comes to the basics of the chords, if you're on the piano, you could play this in as simple or as complex of a way as you think would best suit the needs of your band. We could just talk about the chord voicings themselves. Root position C, root position F, root position A minor, root position G. Very blocky. Right? Or we could purposefully use some inversions and alternate voicings to sort of smooth this out so fewer notes change from chord to chord. So C first inversion, F root, A minor root, and G root. So it's really just that C first right there. Or we could take this up a little bit higher. This is now C second, F first, A, C, F, A minor root, and G root. So that sounds nice to me. And you have this little melody sort of emerging in the right hand, which is because those notes on top are moving, but just a bit. And there's some commonality between the chords. We could take this even a little bit further by modifying these chords a little bit. get G right there, and then resolve back to the 1. So adding these little moments to the chords can really help to dress up a basic 1-4-6-5 progression. Now, this is not the video where we're going to get deep into the theory and talk about substituting chords or advanced modification of chords, but we've got videos like that for you on the channel, so we'll link some of that stuff in the description if you want to take this to the next level. But for now, just consider that when you're playing the 1-4-6-5 chords, it doesn't have to be as simple as just playing those chords. Maybe there's some common tones, some common ideas, or some purposeful choices you can make around the way that you play those chords functionally on the keyboard. Now, why is the 1-4-6-5 progression so popular? I don't think we can really answer that question fully, but one of the reasons I think has to do with story, with the journey that we take people on through our song. With art, with creativity, we're trying to inspire and encourage people towards a goal. In congregational worship music, we're trying to make it easier for people to connect with God by lifting up a song of their own or participating in corporate worship. I think part of the reason the 1-4-6-5 is so popular, and not just in Christian music, but in music in general, is because of the story, the journey that it takes people on. Now, in Western modern music, we're often just playing in the major scale, so the 1 chord, the tonic, is always going to feel like home. Really comfy, cozy, clean. No dissonance, no tension, right? Now the next safest chord to jump to is the 4 chord. In fact, we could establish that as the new 1 if we wanted to play from the key of C and transition to the key of F with really no pretext. People would just accept it. Oh, I guess this is home now. It's just like such a subtle, safe jump. So it feels normal, feels familiar to a Western listener. And if you're used to that sort of music, all day, baby, no problem. No tension, easy resolution, and that just works. If we go from the major 4 chord to the minor 6 chord, woo! Spooky? No, it's not spooky. Somber? Maybe a little bit. Stirring? Maybe that's the right word. Tense, I think it's the right word. Right, because we're still in the major key of C. Everybody knows that, but we're now playing a minor chord within that C scale. And that little bit of tension, that like, oh, they did something. They went to a minor chord. It sounds a little sad or a little pensive, a little longing, just a bit unresolved. Humans dig that. If you've been listening to music in the major scale, you're going to dig it, right? You're just going to respond to that. And I think that's a big part of why this progression is so popular. So now where are we going to go? Well, we want a little bit of resolution. We want this tension to sort of resolve, for the loose ends to be tied up. But if we went straight back to the 1, it's a little bit abrupt, right? Like you have to have like a little bit something more before you get back to the epilogue, right? So then, oh, there's the angels right there. That 5 chord, that major 5 chord, which would have felt a little bit more abrupt, right? Like, oh, we're stepping out if we just went straight to the 5 chord. But because we worked our way there from the 1 to the 4, to the 6, to the 5, it's now like a hinge point, and we just know. We're going to go back to the 1. Please take us back to the 1. Ooh, thank you, Dave. That is a great 1. I'm being silly, right? But honestly, this is the stuff that happens subconsciously when we listen to this kind of music. When we hear progressions like this, we don't think it. Nobody's like, oh man, I hope they land on the 1. But when it happens, we respond. We feel that a little bit. Sometimes more than others. But truly, like, humans feel things, they don't just think things, and music is really powerful because it can tap into that. So thinking about the story and the journey of the progression matters, and I think that's a big part of why this progression is so popular and has proven so successful for decades. So as you're playing this progression, don't just think, dumb, 1-4-6-5, I could do this all day. But think about why it's effective and how you can use it to encourage and inspire people in your congregation. And then you can also take advantage of the fact that people think they know what's coming to do something different on purpose at a specific time. So you could go like this. Ooh, flat 7 chord. That's not home. Ooh, there's the F again. A minor, G, flat 7, that's a B flat major chord. F4, back to the 1. People would not see that flat 7 coming, but they would feel it when it happens. If you're interested in substituting chords, playing things that people don't expect, you have to also get inside the psyche of what they're going to be expecting. You can't subvert expectations you don't already understand. So understanding and analyzing the psychology, the feeling, the emotion behind these sort of staple meat and potatoes progressions is essential for you to be able to take it to the next level and purposely work against those at times. So far, it's really been about the feeling that's evoked by these chords and the way that we play them. Of course, in this progression, it's the order we play them that has an effect. But the sounds you choose to use also really matter. So I could pull in this really nice dramatic string sound from this Ultimate exclusive library called Daylight Strings. Just playing one chord instantly evokes a response. It's dramatic. It's, sort of over the top, really. It's emotive. So if we take that into this sort of boring, static 1-4-6-5 progression, let's hear how it sounds. It really takes the progression into a whole new direction just because of what this specific texture does. Very dramatic. Feels a lot less like home bass now. But if you're looking to sort of subvert those expectations a little bit while staying inside of the progression, choosing a different sound could absolutely do that for you. Let's take this in a different direction. I'm going to pull in this really lovely ambient pad called Retro Bell Pad. This is a very lush, sort of swirly ambient pad, and I want you to hear how this takes the progression somewhere else. Make the pad a little bit brighter with the mod move here. These are just two sort of sound swap examples, but if the extent of your practice and preparation at home is looking at the chord chart and making sure you know where those chords are on the keyboard, for modern worship music, that's honestly only 50% of the picture. It's not just the chords you use that end up creating the story or the journey you take your listener on. It's just as much about the sounds you use to play those chords and those keys parts. And figuring out where to get those sounds can be difficult. We have some resources for you. We'll put a link in the description to our Sunday Keys app, which I've been using for all the sounds in this video. There's no post-processing applied. It's just the raw audio output of the app. It effortlessly captures the sounds of popular modern worship music, puts them at your fingertips, and makes it way easier for you to approach the texture side of being a modern worship keys player. By this point, I'm sure you've thought of at least a couple 1-4-6-5 worship songs that you know. So if you haven't already, leave that comment because we really do want to sort of just see how much is out there. We've just picked 3 for the top of this video. We know there are hundreds and hundreds and hundreds. But really, if you're playing them, if as you make this list, you realize, wow, there's like a dozen on our regular rotation that all have this exact chord progression in them. Don't be discouraged by that, but be challenged by it. How can you take those songs in new or unexpected directions that still take your whole audience, your whole congregation along with you. Leave a comment and let us know what you find, and please be sure to subscribe. Appreciate it.